My name is Dr. Lawrence Stybel, and I am a co-founder of two companies. One is called Stybel Peabody, which I'll explain. We do retained searches. I'm also executive in residence at a private equity company, and every month I write on leadership and career management in Psychology Today.
Yeah, welcome, Larry. Thank you so much for your time. Let's kick it off with, I'm curious, what would be your favorite question to ask? And obviously you've done the admissions interviews as well as career interviews from, really high stakes C-suite type of interviews. So what would be your favorite question to ask?
Well, even though I've done, most of my work is involved with senior level executives. I've interviewed people at all levels, including entry levels. And my favorite question of all is, what do you know about our company? And a variation of that favorite question is, why do you want to work for our company? And another variation of that is, anything else you want us to know about you? Those three questions are real softball questions. And I'm going to tell you what I consider an F answer, a C answer, a B answer, and an A answer. So here's an F answer. If you say this, you fail. Your response to the question, what do you know about our company, or tell them why you want to work for our company, is it's clear you have read the job description, and that's all you have done. You're focusing on the job description that you saw. If you do that with me, I'm not going to hire you. I don't care how good you are on the rest of the interviews. You don't pass that question, because if you just stay with a job description, that tells me a lot about your curiosity. It tells me a lot about your innovation. It tells me a lot about your naivete, that you actually believe everything is on the job description is all you need to know. Come on. So that's an F. Here's an example of a C. In other words, if you say this, okay, you pass low, but you pass. And that is, what do you know about our company? Well, I went on your website and I looked at your news section, and congratulations on getting the XYZ contract for $1.2 million. That's a real coup. Now, that tells me you went beyond the job description, so you don't fail. It tells me you went on the internet, nice, and you went into the news and media section, and you looked at some of the headlines that we are publicizing that we want the rest of the world to know. You pass, you got a C, that's good. Now, here's how you can get a B. You do all the above, plus it's clear you've done more secondary research. Secondary research are the things you can see on the internet. For example, I'm interviewing you, and I go to news.google.com, and I interview Jennifer Wu, and I see, oh, Jennifer Wu has a daughter named Valerie, and Jennifer is a coach on the soccer team at her hometown. And so I mentioned that I cared enough to do the research about you and what's going on with you. Or I do the research and I find that the founder of the company died last month, and I just mentioned that, sorry about the death of the founder. So it's just, that would be a B level. It's a really good answer. It's not A, but it's really good. Now, here's an example of an A answer. You do this, I'm going to eat out of the palm of your hand. And that is, you do primary research. Primary research is you go beyond the internet, but you actually talk to human beings, real live human beings. For example, you go to your college and university alumni directory online, and you type in the name of the company you're interviewing for. It turns out Jennifer Wu graduated from my institution 5 years ago, and she now works at the company. And I call the company, I ask to speak with Jennifer Wu. I tell her that I'm interviewing for this company. We both went to the same college. I just like to get her sense about the company, what she likes and what she doesn't like. If you take that step, I'm eating out of your hands. Another example, this is a true story. I had a client. He went to the nearest Starbucks to the company. He made friends with the cashier. He asked the cashier to point out people from the target company who were coming in to get Starbucks coffee. And so Jennifer Wu comes in, gets her coffee. The cashier says, so I go to Jennifer, I say, excuse me, I don't know you. You don't know me, but I got an interview with this company. Can I ask you, what do you like? What do you don't like about the company? Jennifer says, it's a wonderful company. I love here. It's changed my life. It's great. May I use your name? Of course you can use my name. You say that, I'm eating out of your hands.
Wow, wow, wow. I love how concrete your examples are. And I mean, this is so compelling, right? And this just shows that, you mentioned looking for candidate qualities in terms of curiosity, innovation. And this is even showcasing, right? The fact that this person, the candidate is going above and beyond and really genuinely being curious and trying to understand what is this place that I'm going to be working at, and doing those primary interviews, and as well as having the ability to build real relationships and have real conversations, and probing and understanding and getting those nuggets of information is so critical. And sometimes we say name drop, right? Name drop. This is name dropping, doing it at its finest, right? To really understand, using those primary sources to understand, why am I interviewing here? What am I getting at? And what am I looking for? What's the actual, bi-directional fit that we have? And so that is incredibly important. So thank you, Larry. I love that. And, I would say, given that, the landscape is changing and how we get our information, right? There are actually tons of YouTube videos out there with people showcasing a day in a life of me and this company or the school that maybe you want to apply to, right? So we certainly have people also gathering pseudo primary information other ways. And so I'm just wondering, over the years that you've interviewed, what have you seen in terms of the types of skill sets that, and qualities that companies are looking for between, let's say, 10 years back to now a day and modern day? What do you see some of the trends, and what would be your, say, top 5 skills that you would be looking for?
Well, in psychology, there's something called the big 5 personality factors. And I think the 2 most important personality factors that I am looking for, regardless of level, one is conscientiousness. Your ability not to simply accept the job description at face value, but to go beyond that and to really do some research, tells me you're a conscientious person. You're a follow-through kind of person. I like that. So that's one thing that I think companies are looking for. A second thing that companies are looking for, and this is, I think, all over the map, regardless of level, is openness to new ideas. In the past, I think companies would say, okay, we need some people who are really creative and really open to new ideas. That's great. But for the vast majority of employees at our company, we want them to follow the protocol, do the standard, and do it again and again and again. Your typical manufacturing type thing. I think with the advances in digital technology and the advances in artificial intelligence, the one thing that we can predict with assurance, the world will constantly change. And if you can't keep up with that change, or you're resistant to change, or you want to just stink in your little silo, you're not going to be a very good long-term employee. So I'm looking for people who with mental flexibility.
I love that, mental flexibility. And for those of you who are listening, the big five, good way of remembering that is ocean. O stands for openness, right, to new ideas, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, as well as neuroticism. And it's actually a great way of understanding your big five personality factors, as well as the particular job you're applying to. And I would dare to say that for certain jobs, they actually appreciate some doses of neuroticism, because it shows that you're conscientious and neurotic, and you double check your work and double check some more just to make sure that you're not making errors. So I think it's a great benchmark to really understand, become self-aware of what types of environments that would really enable you to thrive. So that's a great example. So Larry, I want to end with your top 3 do's and don'ts when it comes to interviewing.
Okay. I wrote it down. Okay. Top 3 do's. I want you to ask at the end of the interviews, what questions have I failed to ask that I should have asked? I find interviewers love that, because a job interview is like a first date. You're on your best behavior. The interviewer's on his or her best behavior. Everybody knows this is a phony meeting. And the fact that you can pierce through the phoniness and say, what questions have I not asked that I should have asked? You may not get a real straight answer to the question, but the fact that you even asked the question will be remembered. The second do's that I would totally suggest you do, in the course of the meeting, can you find something where you can follow up? Most job candidates, their idea of follow-up is, okay, after the meeting, I'll send an email to Larry Stybel saying, thanks for the meeting. I really enjoyed it. I hope to be a candidate. That's expected. If you don't do it, it's kind of rude. But if you do it, it doesn't help you. On the other hand, let me give you a wonderful example. This is a real example. I had a client who was interviewing with somebody in his office, and he had a spider plant that was turning brown. She says, your spider plant is turning brown. He says, yeah, I don't know why. End of discussion. So she had 7 hours of interviews with different people, and so the spider plant was 10 seconds. But on the back of that person's business card, she wrote spider plant. She then goes and she does a Google search on spider plants, how they get sick. And then in her follow-up letter, she says, I was thinking about your spider plant. Have you ever tried this, this, and this? The hiring authority gets this letter, is ecstatic. He sends a copy of her letter to everybody. She's hired the next day. And when she is hired, she is told, we are not hiring you because you found a cure for our spider plant. We are hiring you because the last person who had this job would make extravagant promises, but wouldn't follow through and wouldn't deliver and didn't have attention to detail. You, on the other hand, never promised to find a cure for a spider plant. You just did it. And you paid attention to detail and you followed through and you were very conscientious. That's exactly what we're looking for. So that's the doof. I'll give you another example. This is personal. I'm interviewing somebody and on his wall, I look at the person's office. What's unusual about this office? Usually offices are pretty standard. There's a picture of the family. There's some books, nothing unusual, but there was something unusual about this office. A big red number 1 in a frame. And I said, "What is that?" He said, "Oh, it's 1st Cavalry. I was in the Army. I was a captain. I was in the 1st Cavalry. That's the big red 1. I said, "Very nice, thank you." But on the back of his business card, I put big red 1. When I got home, I did a Google search on big red 1, and it turns out that there is a big red 1 reunion in Boston in August. And I wrote back to him and said, "Great meeting you. I hope we can work together again. By the way, I'm sure you know this, but there's a big red 1 reunion in Boston in August." Of course, I know he knows that. But I was trying to impress him with my detail ability, my follow through by saying, "I remembered big red 1. I remembered how important it is to you, and I followed up. I got the job."
Wow, that is making real connections, right? I mean, sometimes we feel like there's just, the cards are stacked against us, but there are opportunities really everywhere. It's all about attention to detail and following through and really taking the time to be thoughtful, right? To take it one step further and truly wanting to understand who this person is and adding value, right, to the spider plan. And as a result, showcasing the characters that you are. I love that, Larry. Such good examples. Are there don'ts that when it comes to interviewing? Obviously, the flip side of not doing these things, right, is a no-no. Other ones?
Oh, well, again, I think the biggest sin that you could make is failure to do your homework and assuming that the job description is valid and reliable and tells you everything you need to know about the job. The job description is simply a public document that anyone can see, including our competitors. And so we're always going to highlight the positives and not the negatives on the job description. So you have to accept the job description as a partial truth.
Yeah, I love that. And this circles back very nicely to your favorite question, right? Why are you applying here? And really to understand the underlining whys and getting those from primary sources. Thank you so much, Larry, for sharing your wealth of experience. I certainly learned a lot, and I want to make sure if people would like to learn more about you and your work, where can they find you?
Well, there are 2 places that they can go and look. The first is we have a book on job search called Navigating the Waterfall, and they can go on Amazon.com and use my name, Larry Stybel, Stybel, or Navigating the Waterfall, and it's there. The second is they can go to our website, stybelpeabody.com, Stybel, stybelpeabody.com. And then we have a whole section called resources with lots and lots of articles about career management and leadership.
Wonderful. Amazing resources. Definitely check it out. Well, thank you so much for your time, Larry.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Take care.
You too.